G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. With our AFL Fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the lesser knowns and the players that are going to bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Hef and I'm joined by Kays and Dos. How you doing, boys?
Great, mate. Going well.
How you going, Kays?
Very well.
Now, you had a draft on the weekend. Now, I think you've been second guessing a few of your picks a bit, Kays. You've been posting a few tweets and things like that. What's going on?
No, I always post my draft. I haven't actually been second guessing. I'm actually still very happy with how I went. I don't think I smashed it, but I think I did enough to just keep my head above water.
I saw a meme of you losing, the meme where the husband's losing sleep and the wife's, I wonder I'm sure he's cheating on me, and you were worried about drafting Shannon Hearn in the second round.
Yes.
So you still sweating on that one, or?
Not as much now that Lockie Hunter's gone down in a strange way, because
another one to sweat about.
a wise coach once told me that just draft for points, don't draft for positions. So we play 3 utilities, which helps. So I just need my 3 utilities to really bust out some big scores too, and I can probably carry my potentially weak forward line. But once again, I'll talk about that later, but I don't think it's as weak as it looks on averages on the paper.
And Dossie, you started a home league. You've been in the podcast as Keeper League and stuff for a while now, but you've actually started a home league, Keeper League now, and how did that
I've been in a few. I've been in, your league, the Keeper League, Pro League.
Inverted commas.
Pro League.
The ones where players don't set their team for 10 weeks in a row.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
I've been in that
Real
league for a couple of years, and then the Draft Doctors Listener League for a number of years.
Is that
now.
a Keeper League as well?
That's the Listener League Keeper.
Yeah.
And so I've been in that for a few years as well. So, I've obviously played a bunch of keepers. But, my home league's now transitioned from single season to a lot of more enthusiastic coaches. Our single season draft was getting a little bit stale. A few guys didn't really put all in. So we've scouted some very, very keen coaches. And, it's gone keeper. And it's right near the end, actually. Only a couple of picks left. So.
Oh, you're still going?
Yeah. Still in the process. But, last 2 picks.
Any chance of making a pick live on air?
No, I just made 2 before the show.
Damn.
Picked up Prusy just before, actually, as my backup ruck. So.
Yeah, backup, that's pretty good. Yeah. Well, anyway, we'll get into the podcast in a second, but tonight we're obviously talking about our draft results in our drafts that were held over the weekend and are currently running for Dossie. But Dossie, what happened on Thursday night?
Mate, impressively, Hef actually held up his end of the bargain, and we did see him out at training due to the listeners voting in, getting the 200 ratings / reviews across Spotify, Apple, all those formats. And you suited up, and I got to say, quite impressive, in fact.
I do want to know, but my favourite, just to give the listeners some background, my favourite thing was kind of Hef probably waking up Thursday morning going, fuck, did I really agree to go to footy training? And then trying to figure out every way he could get out of it. I was like, Hef's going to bail here.
We saw a lot of messages on the day that were like,
a lot of those ones where he texts and then's waiting for a reply, but nothing's coming, and then just keeps texting again. And just no, I don't have to go, do I?
I don't think I should actually have to do this, do I? Oh, I better. And then we're like, dude, we've already said that. We have published.
When I remembered that I'd actually said on the podcast that I would go, I was like, I have to go now, don't I? So I went, and I was actually fine on the night, but I am still sore today. I'm still recovering. So I tried to go for a run on the treadmill yesterday. You should do that 3Ks a day.
Yep.
I got 1.5Ks yesterday and pulled the pin. I just couldn't do it. So
what was Hef's, who does he remind you of in a football sense?
Well, I was saying at the start of training that the ball drop was questionable.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've played with him many more years. Was this a point of contention?
It's always been. Don't have the best. It's always been a question.
It's a long wind up. Sort of. I was like, gee, this is. I don't know if you were just getting your eye in though, but it was certainly a long wind up.
Yeah.
Don't know what he reminds me of though. I've got a deep cut, maybe a bit of a Harry Perryman.
Perryman. I'll take that for sure.
Yeah, it can do a bit of everything.
Inside, outside.
I did cite just the slightest. It was only very slight. A little bit of thirst. We did a contested drill. Now Hef made sure he was out of that one for a lot of the time. We had a couple of subs, and I saw Hef kind of avoiding that one, watching Dossie on the sidelines there. But no, you don't mind a bit of contested stuff too.
No, I can get around in traffic. I'd like to point out that I beat Dossie in the sprints as well. So,
and on the flip side, how's Dossie go? I've never seen Dossie play.
Yeah, he looks like a wiry half forward flanker, which I think is where he's going to play this year. So, after training, actually, the coach asked, "Have you ever played full forward before?" And I just laughed and walked inside.
The question did emerge.
Anyways, all right, boys. Can I get a round of applause? Please, lads.
What's this for? Dos not drinking your mother?
No, that's something to celebrate here. All right, today I'm excited to announce that Manscaped has launched their Ultra Premium Collection. All right, so believe it or not, this one's for your not-so-private parts, boys. I'm talking about leveled up hygiene routine with your favourite manly scent from Manscaped. So this is an all-in-one skincare and hair kit for the everyday man and covers you from head to toe, literally. All right, so Manscaped is trusted below the waist. Now trust them with the rest. All right, so
that's actually huge.
Yeah, Ultra Premium Collection.
That's massive.
So it includes like shampoos, moisturisers, I think, aftershaves, all that sort of stuff as well. So that's come out. And look, if our listeners want to get their hands on that, they can use the code KEEPER20 at manscaped.com, order the Ultra Premium Collection and get it delivered to their door for free.
I probably won't have much need for the shampoo in a few years' time, but some others, man.
20% off. Deo, I'm keen to give it a crack.
Yeah, the aftershave's pretty good too, I think. So I haven't heard it, but I've heard good things. So, 20% off and free shipping, so free to your door and 20% off the product itself. Use the code KEEPER20 and, have it delivered to your home. All right, we'll get stuck into the podcast though. So we're going to talk about some draft results here. So we're going to start off with our mock keeper league draft. Now, this was done with basically the entire fantasy, well, a lot of the fantasy community. We had Warney from the Traders. We had a few of the Hat Chat boys. We had Cam. No, we didn't have Cam. We had Statesman. We had Steve from the Draft Doctors. We had quite a few people in there. Louis from the Pod.
You can literally read them out if you'd prefer.
Yeah, if you've got them in front of you. I'm trying to think of them on the top of my head.
I've got them here. So we had Big Dossie. We had, of course, us three. So Warn Dog. Of course, Warney. We had Louis, from the Pod. We had Simo, who's one of our loyal listeners and a writer.
Yep.
For us. So we had Sanch. He's from the Hat Chat. We had the Statesman from the Pod and the Draft Doctors. We had
2-time hat winner.
Obermullet, Nath from the Hat Chat as well. And then, Steve from the Draft Doctors.
And we did do a vote at the end of it. I think Stevie Fierce won that one in flying colours.
I think pretty comfortably.
Yes.
I think he was out in front.
Does he have the most VPNs? Stretch.
Is that hurt? Maybe he could vote for himself. No, I think you can only vote once on yourself. I tried to vote for myself multiple times. Don't worry.
Just for team balance, just to look at his side, I don't know how much we're going to cover it, but he went to start with Timmy T at pick 6, which is obviously the forward selection. Then it's just smashed mids. So he had 5 midfielders in a row before picking his first defender. So
always makes your team look pretty good when you do that.
Absolutely. But I think with the depth, not necessarily the depth of defenders, but getting that forward early and everyone just reaching for their forward after that. He let the defender fall and he picked up Dyson Heppel in rounds 7. So,
all right, we'll get into our results. So we're going to ask a few questions. What's our best pick, our worst pick, and our speculative/flyer pick, or I like to call it a loose pick, really, more than anything. But before we start, what was your strategy going into this? So obviously it's a mock draft, but what were you trying to achieve out of this? We'll start with you, Dustin, and we'll go to Case.
Well, I had pick 3, which personally I'm not a huge fan of this season. And I think at the time, maybe there was a couple of midfielders that I wasn't so set on that I probably, looking back, maybe would have just gone with a midfielder here. But thinking about it as a keeper as well, you do really want to lock away that ruck. So I picked up Brodie Grundy early, and I'm not going to go through my picks, but I'm just saying after going Grundy, I think my strategy was kind of just balance that team, make sure I get some midfielders. But I actually thought in this draft, I'd try a couple of different things early. And I was trying to force a couple of runs out of people. I backed it up with a couple of forwards, including a few ruck eligible players to try and scare people. And it did not work.
Oh, you scared me. I took a ruck early. I took Riley O'Brien when I didn't want to. But so it worked for me, but worked on me. Kaz, what was your strategy going to this?
I had the last pick and the turn. So I was just kind of I was just kind of happy to see kind of what fell out from the first kind of rounds of picks. And then I'm not usually one who would take, would have liked to have got a forward or a back in there. But when Zach Merritt and Tom Mitchell are still there on the table, I was like, that is a captain and vice captain option just sitting there waiting for you. So I had to go with them. I was obviously quite keen to get some forwards in early. I don't know if I went early. I took Zach Butters at pick 31. At the time, it might have been a bit early, but off the back of what we've seen in the couple preseason games, because this was before we saw any of that, so I'm pretty happy with that. But yeah, just
looking at the ADPs, that was about right for Butters.
Yeah, so. Good. Yeah, I was just trying to get a good balance, trying to get a few of my boys in there and all of that. But I think my midfield stacks up pretty well. Bit questionable in the backs especially.
I drafted very differently to the way I'd usually draft. So usually I just don't really care about the future. I'll just draft for straight up trying to win, get as most points to my team as possible and worry about that later. But yeah, this time I tried to get one established player at each line before going pretty young on every line, so just trying to get the future.
So you actually, what you're saying is, so Kays and I kind of seem to be scrambling through a strategy there. You're saying you genuinely came in with a strategy, premium each line, then go on youth.
Yeah, I did. It kind of came that way when I went Miller, Whitfield, and then I kind of thought I did want to go youth all up, but then I was like, let's just kind of round these out with actually one primo on each line, and then from there I kind of just went back to the youth strategy. So I intended to go youth earlier. But the picks that I wanted didn't fall to me early. But then after that, I kind of just went, early on youth.
I see you got Took at 7, just to talk about him quickly.
Yeah.
I reckon, I don't know, personally, I just raised him so much higher.
You put him at number 1 in your re-ranks.
Yeah, at the moment. I just think, he, to me, just looks like this next kind of guy that his work rate's just so off the charts. And I don't know whether I thought he was going to have take a backward step, or whether Anderson and Rao and having I thought Anderson, Rao, Fiorini, these guys around him was going to affect him too much. But the next few years I think is just so huge for Took. So
not going to lie, I was pretty happy when he fell to 7. But anyways, let's stop talking about the overall draft and let's get into some of our best picks. So Kays, we'll start with you. What was your best pick, you think, in the draft? So that we're talking value here, so not necessarily the best player you picked up, but the best player at the best time.
Hard to split at this early stage of the season, but I think Butters, I'm happy with getting him in early. I reckon Jack Lukosius, he slid to me at 90. And everyone, lots of the good backs had gone and everyone was just holding off because there was so much speculation that, he's going to play forward and what could that do to his scoring. Obviously, yes, he's playing forward. But as you kind of touched on last week, Dos, he scored a decent score from only 50% time on ground. Yeah. So, sure, what happens in practice matches
isn't the way he scored as well. It was he was hitting targets and stuff inside 50 and things like that. So he was kind of still distributing the footy, even though he was playing up forward. So.
I think that's safe here as well. If it fails, if it's slightly below what you thought you're going to get, you're still going to get a fantastic forward going for the next few years. It's a keeper league, keeper league mock draft. So,
I don't know if it was my best pick, but I just thought at that time it was just I think that was value. But I think my best pick overall, I reckon Trav Boak at pick 151.
Might only get 1 year out of him.
Might only get 1 or 2 years out of him. But at that low, you took someone, you took one of your players who you talked about in a second, a couple rounds higher. Who's unproven whatsoever.
Yeah, Chad Warner and Elijah Hollands I took before him.
Hollands. So you kind of go, and I know at that point everyone's got different strategies and that kind of thing, but once again, it's one of those ones where it's just looking at your face and you go, he could score you 100 this year and be very handy for your midfield.
Yeah. Okay, what about you, Dossie? What was your best pick in your draft?
I want to touch on one that I'm not counting as my pick necessarily, but I got Nick Dacos at 63, but we know that Statesman, so the backstory, we've already spoken about it, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Basically, Statesman had pick 60, at pick 61, he meant to take Nick Dacos and took Josh Dacos. So anyway, I think that's, even for Stato, if he was to get that at 61, I think that's still really good value just because, obviously we've seen him pop a 99 in his first, taste of Amy Series AFL.
Yeah.
But you look at where Sam Walsh goes in this draft, and that's who I just want to compare to in terms of junior pedigree, gun scorer, all that sort of
opportunity
stuff.
When he starts.
He goes in the top 5 in most keepers. And you're talking about Nick Dacos, who's the next coming of that sort of a fantasy talent, and he goes in the 60s or, maybe the 40s or 50s. I think regardless, I think that's just huge value for all keepers. I'd imagine having Nick Dacos in your team for the next 5 to 10 years or whatever. You're just going to be loving life. So I think that's a great pick. But for my own little personal one, Sam Dougherty at 98. Now knowing that he's going to be playing round 1 as well, he's a fantasy stud. It was a risk at the time. This was before we kind of knew more about his status, but getting him at 98, you got to be stoked with that.
Yeah, awesome pick. Especially if you were kind of following the news and kind of saw inklings that he was going to be kind of back in contention early. That was a good pick.
And just in comparison, recently in my home league draft, I got him as well, and it was at pick 85.
Yeah.
So not even that much higher up.
Yeah, exactly.
Still pretty stoked with that.
My best pick, I think, Sicily at 107. I think he fell, and I think he rounds out my back line nicely. I think he was like my D3 at the time. So if I'm just having a look at this quickly, Sicily, D3 I picked him up as. So I'm pretty happy. D4 I've picked him up as. So pretty happy with that to get him there. The other one I was pretty happy with was Tom Phillips at 294. So my third to last pick in the draft, and my second last pick was actually an auto pick because we were doing the video that day.
Yeah.
We were just so busy that I didn't get to the draft within the 4-hour time period. So I actually auto picked after that. So so Tom Phillips was my last actual pick in the draft that I took. Pretty happy with that one, just considering what he put up in the trial. If he's best 22, which I think he is, I don't think they're going to drop him out. There was talk of it early, but he performed well enough in the trials to kind of hold his spot. I think to get him there, he's someone who could potentially average 85 to 90 to get him, almost pick 300. I'd take that there. So I was happy with that one.
I'd prefer your Seb Ross at 254, to be honest.
That was all right. I liked that one for the first week. I didn't like it in the second week.
Yeah.
Because it didn't really get much of the footy.
Nice.
Yeah, it didn't. But that was around that time, so it was okay. It was actually just after that trial was when I picked him up. So, yeah. All right, worst picks, Kays. What was yours?
Still questioning that. I think I went a bit early on Tom Stewart at pick 50, especially with his injuries he's had kind of over the pre-season. But I think I went early on Jai Caldwell, pick 91. Got into the Essendon hype a bit too early there. We've seen him have a good game and a not so good game. And even just looking at some of the players, who went around there, potentially could have got someone. I probably could have got. I could have got Sam Dougherty, especially when I probably should have got another back in or another forward in. I went a bit heavy on the mids, and I thought I'm going to smash out some really, really strong young midfielders, and probably just reached a bit on him there.
I still don't reckon it's awful. Like,
it's not awful.
Look, Steele Sidebottom went around that one. Brad Crouch went around there. It's not that bad.
Are you just looking back? Are you concerned? I know he's your boy, so you're probably not going to be too concerned, but. At pick 30, getting Ben Keys based on what we saw in the Amy series of him starting, he played a lot of forward.
Yeah.
And obviously Crouch getting bulk CBAs in his return. Are you any concern? Obviously he's probably going to play mid at the start of this year because Laird's out, but long term, any concern that Keys is a forward for a bit?
Possibly, but I think at that stage when we were drafting him, you're kind of a guy who averaged 110 or something last year, was there at 30, and it was just that thing. I think, and he's your boy, and he's my boy. But I think it's just one of those ones where you can go in with a bit of a strategy, but sometimes, as I said, some of those guys just light up, and you're like, if I don't take him, then especially when you're on the turn, I don't have another pick for another 20 picks. So if you don't grab someone, then you can get a bit stuck.
More my question though is do you think Ben Keys is playing forward for the Crows in the next few years?
Centre forward in the first two trials.
or do you think, because, guys like Jared Lyons, for an example, is playing a lot of forward. There's some messaging he'll play forward. I think he'll play a lot more midfield in the season. Could they just be giving Schonberg and even Crouch, for instance, a lot more run in the trials just to make sure he's fit? But really, Keys did a great job in there last year. Are they going to put him back?
I think Barry's the one that they gave a lot of time to over the pre-season, which is fine. They want to build him up. But once again, they've made Keys vice captain, and they've made him, he was second. He's been runner up in the third in their best and fairest. I just don't think that you just throw him away for that when he's done very well over the last couple of years. I think, someone like Lyons has a bit of an overreach with some of the calls in the pre-season.
I tend to agree. I'm keen to see where it goes.
What was your worst pick in the mock draft, Dossie?
I think it's pretty clear now, looking back. I'd be interested if you guys have a take, but my opinion would be the Luke Jackson pick. And look, I don't have a problem with drafting him pretty early if you're looking
after you mic dropped me on the rankings podcast. You put him at pretty early.
I'm still comfortable drafting him early. It's just the fact I had 2 rucks already.
Oh, sorry, I get you.
So I'm super comfortable having Luke Jackson, but like I said, I tried to force a run, and also thinking maybe the production was going to be there this year, as you're alluding to probably.
Yeah.
But I thought the production might be there this year with the forward status. So basically, just to recap, I've got Grundy at pick 1, Marshall as my second pick, which I like with forward status. I love that pick. But then getting Jackson as my 5th pick, thinking I was a genius as a forward guy, also a keeper. I'd be having to package him off in a trade pretty quickly if I was trying to compete this year.
Yeah, and Kay's made the point a few weeks ago on the pod that if they all lose forward status next year, you're screwed.
Exactly. So I'd be wanting to package one or two of them off in the first season, which is never ideal when you've just come off a draft.
Nah, probably not the best idea. My worst pick was Elijah Holland. We mentioned it just before. So this was before before Gold Coast had played their practice match, I think, and pretty early on. So but yeah, I think he has suffered a groin injury since, but another guy who's just unproven, has a bit of history with injury as well. Probably a bit early.
Oh, you got him pick what?
134. 14? So, but when you look at players, around in that kind of round 14, I think you took Ryan Burns, but Justin McInerney went there. That's a pretty big one. Scott Lycett was there. Tom Liberatore went there, just like a real safer scorer there. Geordie Clark went there. Hugh Greenwood went there.
That's
Jeremy
fair.
Sharp went there as well. And I'm taking Elijah Hollands. The reason was the forward status. I think he was actually my F5 by that point, so not the worst kind of F5 to have if he actually plays, but he's got to play.
You really chips in on Elijah Hollands this year, aren't you?
No, I'm not anymore, but I was then, a few months ago. Now that
because we got to say, this draft was a little while ago.
It was 3 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
So,
and which is an eternity in preseason.
Exactly. So there's a lot of change in the way I've been thinking this preseason. Actually, now that I've actually seen players play and the way they're going about it, that's for sure. But that was probably my worst pick as well. All right, we'll get into some speculative picks for this draft as well. So, Kays, what was your probably speculative / flyer pick? So a bit of a looser pick. I don't know. Value pick. If you're talking speculative, I think get Archie Perkins at 191's a good kind of go. But if you want to go, maybe have I gone a bit too early on someone? I think Will Day at pick 111. Just considering we know that we haven't seen much of a preseason from him. Yeah.
When we're going to see him back. And once again, it's probably the timing where I've kind of gone, I reckon he's going to be good in the future, but I'm almost taking an L straight up for this year, I think.
Saw a lovely video today on the Hawthorn socials, though, of Will Day taking a young footballer under his wings, crying at one of those coaching sessions because he couldn't find the group he was supposed to be with, and Will Day just kind of put him under the wing, kicked the footy with him for the afternoon, so he went up in that tugged on the heartstrings there, so he went up in my ranks there, so it's all good. Anyway, what about yours, Dossie? Your kind of flyer pick in the mock draft?
I'm happy to see I took him, even 3 weeks ago. I was keen, but I'm all aboard the Zathri train.
I know you are
this year. But speculation is probably the name of the game for me late in draft. So I went on a few, like a Josh Battle, which I think the speculation's been there was just a bit of speculation about him playing defence. I think that's proven. But I took Heath Chapman back then too, so I was pretty happy.
That was before he performed well in that
trial, so picked 263 in this draft, and he looked fantastic.
I was going to say that's probably one of my favourite picks from you late.
Yeah.
It was
looking in hindsight, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I took Seb Ross late, which I'm not loving, and Luke Donston as well. They were kind of just speculative whether they're going to play that midfield role. Luke Dunstan as well, whether he gets a game. This is before we saw the trial, so I wasn't sure whether. I feel like Luke Dunstan could be someone like Fiorini though, who comes in halfway through the season, may not play the final rounds in the grand final when you need him to, but there could be a patch where he plays in the middle of the year and he pumps out a few hundreds and goes okay.
With protocols, etc., he's got to get a run at some point.
Yeah, hopefully. I just don't know if he'll be there. If you were relying on him to score well in a grand final or something like that, he's probably going to let you down. Yeah, he'll probably be dropped by then. That's all. So just a few later ones I took there. So I
think just to shout out another the Statesman for one pick that he made. I don't know if we should talk about this, but pick 221, he picked up his boy Matt Kennedy.
Yeah, not bad.
And we know that Sam Walsh is coming back into that side, but God, he looked bloody amazing.
Kay's would have something to say about his boy, but anyway. I think they're having they're having a bit of a battle on Twitter, I think, Statesman and the K's about whose boy is Matt Kennedy. Oh, there was a tweet, wasn't there?
Well, because everyone assumes I listen to what's going on in the fantasy world, and
I think you just said you posted something like, "Oh, my boy, I'm the only one talking him up," and then it was it was a bit of a Statesman mentioned him no shorter than 24 hours ago or something like that. Someone piped up, and then Statesman had a bit of a chip back, but it was just fun.
Our boy, our collective boy.
All right, cool. Let's move on to our home league. So Kays and I are obviously in the same home league. Dossie, you're in a different home league, but we're just going to do the same thing. So a different draft and a different bit of a different kind of perspective. Because in our home leagues we're redrafting, so we have, I think I worked it out, there was 220 picks available, so we're 16 keepers, 12 teams, so and then we got rookie lists as well where there's quite a few more, so I think there was, I can't actually remember the amount of keepers there were, but there was a lot. There was about 190 or something already kept. So basically from about 200 onwards is where we start our draft, and we got to pick a lot of players from there. Where Dossie, you were starting up your homely keepers, so you've got a bit of a different perspective of yours is going to be more similar to the mock draft. But yeah, we'll start with you again, Kays. Mm-hmm. So in the home league draft, what was your best pick, do you reckon?
Well, I should probably preface it. I had a pretty strong set of keepers going in, and I was the runner-up in the league last year.
You're gunning for a flag.
I'm gunning for a flag. So I was kind of, I should have drafted to really capitalise on this year, but I can't help myself trying to back in some youth as well. But so for interest's sake, like I took Riola with my first pick. I think he's going to be great. My forwards for a week. Then I went Shannon Hearn, which I tweeted about just to give some good cover in my back line. And then my risky one I think could really pop is your boy Zach Guthrie. I think I'd taken, he came in at pick 227.
You're all aboard.
Pick 227. So if he goes shit, I'm right off you, Dossie. But
I think before the show you said I've been listening to too much Dossie this pre-season.
I have when I said it. I reckon my best pick coming in pick 275 was Lachie Jones, and after that was Noah Answorth at 287. Now, they may not necessarily be, what I like about them is they may not necessarily be useful for my team this year, but we know in our league, Hef, when you're hunting flags, you always want to kind of pick off like an older guy from another team who might be retiring, might be on the last bit of their legs. What those people in the teams who have those guys want from you is someone who can be good for the future. Now, all I need is someone like a Lachie Jones or a Noah Answorth to, start pumping out some, regular 80s or something like that. And that is just absolute tasty treats for someone who might have a Scott Pendlebury or a Nat Fife or Trent Cotchin if he has a good year. So someone who can help my team out for the tilt at the flag, but also gives them back something for the future.
That's a real good point for people that are starting keeper leagues this year. That if you're in contention, you're sometimes better off trading out your youth for guys that are just going to secure that flag for you. And that's why I'm a big advocate of moving the trade deadline as forward possible as you can, because what kind of happens if it's super late, that the team that's out of contention will just trade off all their kind of guns for the top team's youth.
How early?
I'd say 6 weeks before the actual final start. I'd say, because what happens is then the season's just sewn up 4 weeks before, or two or 3 weeks before the actual final start, and the season's effectively over because there's no way you can beat that team going in. So you move it forward. There's a potential that a few of the top teams players get injured or something like that it kind of brings it back to balance. But a lot of the time what we used to do, it was super late, and by the last 2 or 3 rounds, you knew who the Premier was going to be, and there was absolutely no way they could be beaten.
Yeah, so I get what you mean. Yeah, it's good to know coming from a startup keeper here. That's a really good tip, to be honest. I might pass that on to the commish.
Yeah, so it's something you can think of. Like some people like rewarding the guy who's the best team, and so be like you can if you want it to be that way as well. But usually you've got one person who's going to win the flag, and the rest of the league doesn't want them to win the flag.
Well,
so you do as much as you can.
You see that a couple of times in single season with a few little behind the table deals as well. Exactly. So I can imagine,
you bring it forward to the deadline, and then that way, they still can stock up on these guys, but there's just more chance that something could go wrong or they could be brought back to the pack by something happening.
Don't mind it.
It's just kind of keeps the interest there. You don't want people just getting bored with the league, before finals even start type thing. You want everyone to still be in with a sniff, essentially. What are we even talking about? I might talk about my best picks because we're in the same league, and then we'll do yours afterwards because it's a different league. So in the same draft as Kays's, I was pretty happy with Cozzy Pickett at pick 292. I'm pretty sure he was going to go the next round to the Melbourne supporter as well. That was in the group. So I was pretty happy with that one there. So I think getting Cozzy, like just in the preseason, saw him get a couple CBAs, at least get 1 1/4 type thing. Looked pretty electric, distributing the ball into the forward lines as well. Plus he can kick a few snags on his day as well. I think down there, if he kicks a bag every now and then, he should be a goer there. I think that's just the one I liked. Dossie, all right, your startup keeper league in your home league, what was your best pick?
Best pick, I'm just going to go and because I'm kind of trying to balance contention with keeping a couple of bits of youth, but I am just definitely going straight out for the flag first year. Hopefully my team reflects that. But what do you guys think of Zach Guthrie? What do you guys think of and this guy came as my F3, so it's not like I'm relying on him to be an absolute gun straight off the blocks, but Jed Anderson at 108.
I think that's about right. That's where he should go. I don't think it's like you're not going early or anything like that, but I'm still worried that when does he play, and when he does play, what's his role? because he's going to be. Say if that midfield's just blitzing it in the first 6 rounds, or like blitzing it for North Melbourne, so to speak. Does he get straight back in there, or is he going to sit up forward? And if he's up forward, is he an actual forward? So does he actually play?
I'll pick another one then, just in case. 205, and like just to recap as well. There's a bit of a like shallower kind of 4-6-1-4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a little bit shallower in that sense, but. Rory Sloane at 205. I just like that as a contending team, a dude that can go bang, and he was looking really good.
So. He had a few rounds last year where he went big.
Back end of last year when he kind of got fit, because I think he had a bit of a delayed preseason, but he was really coming home strong. So I kind of got that
mix of youth early and some really big scorers, but then getting a Sloane just to round out and have that sort of
the MC.
If you can round out your team with 80 plus scorers, like you're in a good spot. So I think that's a pretty good one. Yeah. All right, worst picks. Let's go into the home league for UKs. What was your worst pick?
None. They were all perfect.
You got a few written here.
I think probably at the time I took Max Lynch at 263, so he was my 5th pick of the night.
Yeah,
not because I don't think he's good, or that I do love Big Maxi.
You're not gonna be able to field him though, are you?
But I need ruck cover because so I've got, for reference, I've got Gawn and I've got Jackson. Ideally, in my side, I'd like to play Jackson as a forward, so I need to have some backup cover on my bench. And I thought at that point, a lot of the good rucks had gone. The guys who can play each week, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think they're. But saying that, I brought in a guy who is 50-50 whether he's best 22. I just need him playing each week, kind of thing. So at the time, it's a bit risky. For long term, like for the rest of the season, I'm actually really happy he's in my side, because
points
I think
per minute, man.
Because I think he can pop. However, the reason I brought him in may have kind of not be the smartest move.
I get your point though, because like last year I had Peter Laddams listed as a forward, but the only other ruckman I had was Lycett. So if he played, I'd generally have to play him if he was going to play and score well. So like the period where Lycett was out for 6 weeks, I had to play him as a ruck. And I couldn't capitalise on him as a forward. And then when Lycett comes back, he just didn't score as well as a forward. So I know what you mean. Like if you've got like a ruck forward, you want to be able to play them as a forward. That's the best way to actually have them. But maybe just a little bit early in terms of like whether he's best 22 or not. But I guess at least you got the cover there.
I've got Bailey Williams later in the draft, so from West Coast, so he's going to be there. They've got no one else playing, so he's surely going to play.
I don't even know how they're going to field 22 players. It's not 2 of them out with COVID protocols already. Yep, so that's going to be interesting. But anyway, my worst pick is so easily Finn Mcginnis. I don't know why I always picked it. I picked him last year, and I picked him earlier than I picked him last year. And I saw him last year. It was like that point where you're just like, I can't remember I'll have a look at what pick number it was. 340. So it was pretty late, but it was more so like, I didn't want to pick him, but then you're just looking at the list and you're like, there's no one else here that's even like a sniff of playing, really. So it was just like, he's a slight chance. He's listed as a forward but played defence and midfield in the trial. He didn't score very well, but we played defence in the first quarter and then midfielder for the last 3. He didn't like score very well, but he's listed as a forward, so it was just something to think about there. But I wasn't super keen on him, but it's just like you got 90 seconds and you're like, who do you pick? And turned into Finn Mcginnis. So I don't even know if he's going to play this year, but we'll see. Hopefully he's closer than last year.
He did well. Yeah, he did a few nice things, I guess.
Yeah. What was your worst pick in your home league?
Look, I haven't made a blunder. Like, I know Case is joking, but no, I literally haven't made a blunder in it. So I don't have one for you.
All right. Fair enough. We'll go with that. I like the confidence. Surely there's one in there that you've gone a bit early on or something like that.
I think it's more balance actually to me. Like, as in, I'm not unhappy with any of my picks, but I just haven't got my defensive line's just so weak. It just falls off so quickly. So probably just grabbing too many kind of mids and forwards early is my blunder that I've made. I'm not unhappy where I picked players, but maybe
drop one of those mids and pick up a bit back.
My defensive line, like I've got Dougherty at D1, then the next 3 are, they're all prospects.
Can you read them out to us?
Zach Guthrie at D2.
Yeah, I knew that was going to be.
Heath Chapman again. I'm just being big on these guys at D3, and Nick Blakey at D4. With Daniel Rioli as my backup sort of on the bench. But it's
weak.
Pretty gross.
Daniel Rioli could go okay. There's a bench cover. But yeah.
But the thing is I did draft Nick Dacos and Pendles to kind of hopefully get defensive status.
Yeah. Clever. Yeah, that's fair enough. All right, let's move on. So let's go to our speculative/fly picks in the home league. So what was yours, Case?
Well, I'll do one normal one, then we do a rookie draft too as well.
That's right, yeah.
I reckon one that is speculative that I'm kind of happy with, especially with the injury situation at West Coast. I took Patrick Nash at pick 359.
Yeah.
And this is at the point where you're just scrambling to get like anyone in the side.
Yeah.
Do you know that on the weekend he had 52 points from 37% time on ground?
Yeah.
Now, centre forward, I was like, it's worth a punt. And
Pick
those
him up,
guys
they're
were
probably going to play him.
Yeah, those guys were like the newly like added into the system and that kind of thing. I was like, that's worth a stab. So I think that's one who could be like, oh, look, he might see 50 each week, or it might be, or he might actually get a good role.
He'll probably find himself in a lot of classic teams this week if he's named as well. So
100%.
The 190k.
No,
he's like 300.
He played 2 years ago, didn't he?
He's probably
he's maybe not
in many. Yeah.
Maybe not them.
The one I kind of quite like with the last pick of the rookie draft for me, pick 431. Now we get these players for 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Connor Buderick.
Yeah.
He did his ACL in March last year, so there's every chance he should be playing some footy at some stage this year, if not trying to force his way back into the side. We know that Jack Bowes is injured as well.
Yeah.
We know that Lukosius is, gone forward. Could he be a guy who comes in and takes some kickouts, etc.? I don't know. We had a good junior pedigree. I just like it. I got a 2-year stab at a guy who had some good junior numbers.
Was an elite junior fantasy scorer.
Yeah.
Plays a very different role at AFL level, but yeah, could come in and do all right.
Speculative.
Yeah, I think just your Powell and Weller coming into that back line
Once again,
well, though, so,
I should mention that at what pick 431, there's not a lot left in that pool.
Well, that range, I went just guys who haven't debuted yet. So Jack Carroll, Angus Sheldrick, Jack Carroll, and Arlo Draper is those 3 picks there. So, just trying to pick, because we can keep him for 2 years. So that means like in the 3rd year, I can elevate him to the senior list, and hopefully those guys are decent scorers there. But yeah, you're right. There is not a lot to pick up there. I guess my speculative was, who did I have written here? Luke Foley at pick 316. So I don't know how much.
I wanted him in my rookies.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe do I try to hold off, but I reckon he might have gone before then. But I think he played. What did he play in the? Did he play in a halfback flank in the practice game? I didn't watch that one, but that's what I heard. Yeah. And with Shepherd leaving the side last year, I thought he might be someone who could fill that hole. From memory, he was a good junior fantasy scorer as well, I'm pretty sure. So he was one that I kind of just was like, yeah, I'll take him. And I'm actually I've taken him in a couple of leagues now. I took him in the last pick of another dynasty draft that I actually did at pick 390. I got him at, and I was pretty happy with that one. So yeah, if he can kind of come in and actually fill Shepherd's role, which is a possibility, he's one I don't mind as well, just given his junior fantasy scoring as well. So yeah, that was my kind of fly.
Some West Coast players are going to pop. It's just bloody who.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So one of you guys might get a Nash or a Foley that pops.
They're just going to get given. I feel like
they might just all stink and they can't touch the
thing is
pill.
in our draft, because obviously there's lots of those guys there. Like West Coast guys were going so early because everyone's just like, oh, that guy might pop, or that guy might pop.
Yeah, he might
there's
play.
no like normally if West Coast were full strength, Luke Foley would not probably even go drafted.
The guy that I'm keen on, which we didn't see, is I think our boy Kays that you didn't see in the preseason was Luke Edwards.
Yep.
Yeah, well, he's injured, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. But he's a guy, if you're talking at that range, if he's still available.
He's on my rookie list, so I've kept him from last year.
So anyway, he's the kind of guy, like I think I got him in our in the keeper mock draft.
Yeah.
I got him at 318, my last pick in the draft. So
he's a good late pick for sure.
Yeah.
All right, just some general stuff. So is there any player that you guys picked up that you picked up in more than one draft? So I guess they're guys that you're probably bigger on than other people are if you're managing to get them in multiple drafts. Kaz, who did you pick up?
I went through and did looked at my results because I've done a couple redrafts and I've got into a couple new keepers this year. I've actually picked up Dan Rioli 4 times.
That's
without
amazing.
even noticing it.
We've been talking about him enough on the pod probably then. People not knowing that you wanted him.
Yeah.
I'm big on him too.
Yeah, so am I. I've got him in a league. I'm super excited for this year.
Obviously he's not going to have forward status next year because he'll play back. But for me, my home league is my main one, and I need him to fill that role, and I think he can do that nicely.
Yep.
Weirdly enough, it's funny when you go through. Like I picked up Dan McStay a lot without even noticing, and there's a couple guys who are just like, oh man, I've got lots of shares in some of these guys that you just kind of at that stage of the draft, you're just like, oh, they're good. But it's not until you go back and you go, man, I'm keen on some guys that I wasn't expecting.
It's probably funny. I mentioned this on Saturday, Kaz, when we were at the draft, but there was, I think, 5 picks that I was going to take with my next pick that you ended up taking. So I don't know if that's just like working together so much, but like Daniel Rioli, I wanted in the next round. You took him first round. I wanted him second round. So I was hoping it, and it was only you were pick 11. I was pick 4. So it was only a few picks away. Then I wanted Shannon Hearn the next round. You took him as well. So I wanted my third. You took him the second. I think I wanted McStay as well. Wanted Lockie Jones. And I think the other one was Guthrie as well. I was keen to take the next round, and you took him. So it was 5 times. He's just the very next pick.
And I think
you had him before my next pick.
Rioli, you said last week, and I was kind of like not on the same wavelength at that time, but like the Nick Hine comparison, I think, is really good for Rioli. Not quite to that level, but just a lighter sort of transition. Just the role change is clear. So I've actually been surprised people haven't been as keen in drafts that I've been in, because I've got him in a couple as well.
Yeah, you just got to hope someone like Hugo Rouse-Smith doesn't come out and blitz it and push him somewhere else.
That's right.
Yeah, but I think he's got the senior head on him. I think will do him well anyway. Yeah. My one that I've taken, Dossie, is Luke Foley. I think I already mentioned that, but yeah, I've got him in 2 leagues. So the other one I got him at pick 390. So I've been bullish on him and his future prospects this preseason. So I'm keen on Luke Foley, but we've already mentioned that one. Dossie, yours is surely going to be pretty obvious, right?
I was going to say him. I'm going to change it.
So Zach Guthrie is what I'm thinking of.
I've found myself I've been getting Nick Dacos basically everywhere, and I'm just surprised that I think in keepers, given that we're scared to take, we've got this sort of ingrained not to take rookies because they can't perform in the straight away.
Yeah.
And you look at just the history of like where you need to take these guys to get that absolute superstar talent. And I think I pushed it a bit higher in my home league. So I think I got him in this, Stato should have got him at 61 in that pro draft. He'd already done this 99 when I had this draft, I think, and I got him at 37, and I'm still so comfortable taking him there. So just Dacos has been the player that I've got everywhere.
All right, so that's enough. We'll talk about our drafts. So yeah, hopefully that gives a bit of an insight in the way our minds kind of work when we're drafting, and who's some of the best picks and the worst picks we thought we take. But yeah, anyway, we'll move on. So membership. So if you enjoy the podcast and you listen each week and you want to support the podcast, please consider becoming a member. If you do, you'll get access to a whole heap of bonus content and resources. The biggest one at the moment, Dossie, is the Pod. So the Pod has gone behind the paywall. It's only available at keeperleaguepod.com.au for the in-season content, but it has been going absolutely bananas on the membership front. I think there was 27 people signed up yesterday alone. So
yeah, mate,
just to get to the Pod. So
it's all for me, mate. No, not for our 5-time top 100 finisher Stato or the runner-up from last year, Kyle.
Yeah. Did you read out my team this year tonight?
Oh, we didn't know, mate.
Obviously, push for time.
Yeah. If you play Classic, though, there are some elite players on that podcast, and only available at keeperleaguepod.com.au. And you guys, I guess listeners have the opportunity to kind of pick your brains and ask questions, as well as kind of get the advice off you guys as well. So
yeah, that's right. If you love your Classic, because I think, I don't know, I'm a fan of all sorts of drafts and Classic.
This way. We all started on Classic.
I love all sorts of fantasy. So I know there's some people that are strictly keeper, and that's cool. You don't have to listen. But if you are a member already, you can jump on and listen too.
There are a lot that were Pod subscribers, Pod Plus subscribers last year anyway.
Can I ask you a question? You're the host of the show, basically, right? All right, so you've got 3 of the greatest fantasy minds in the game that you talk to each week.
Here we go.
Who's the best?
Oh, who's the best of them?
If you had to go, I want this guy to pick my team for my life, that they had to finish top.
They all 1,000. Bring unique perspectives, and I think
a cop out.
Does it have to be on the? Does it have the podcast? I'll take Selby. So, does he have to be on yours? I don't know. The guy's won the car twice.
Based on very, very recent history, Kyle finished second last year.
So he's a very good addition to the team.
He's a great addition to the team.
Do you reckon that makes Statesman hungrier?
Oh, it does. I think Kyle's given him shit.
They're already building a good rivalry on the pod.
Kyle's basically challenged him that he needs to perform. Because Kyle's I'm bringing the credibility back.
Keeps saying he's past it. So yeah, it's pretty funny. So make sure you're not missing that elite content.
Just on the download though, I reckon Louis is due for a cap. I reckon Louis is going to break into that thing because he's got some great
puts
takes.
A lot of time in as well, Louis. So he's definitely doing his research.
His time's coming. He's hat bound.
Yeah, these days. Has to be surely. Anyway, so we got that happening. Basically all our draft resources. Most of your drafts are probably done, but they're all still up there. But in season, we'll have CBAs, we'll have state league numbers, we'll have the projections, we'll have the breakout tracker updated each week. So all the great in-season stuff is still available for you to use for your keeper leagues as well. Each week, we thank 10 gold members. I'm going to read them out this week. I don't think I've done it for a while. So thank you to Odin York, Ian Duncan, Sean Lawson, Matt Brown, David Pearce, Dan Kovacevic, that one gets me every year, Robert Malavindi, let's go with that, Bevan Lemon, Josh Donhart, and Cameron Mills. And shout out to one of our league mates, Tim Scroat. He got real angry on the weekend that we didn't say anything. We just read past his name and didn't read it out. So I thought we'd just mention him this week just to make up for it. So anyway, there you go, Tim.
Avid Manscaped user.
Absolutely loves it. Absolutely loves it. I'm Scroaty. Anyway, podcast reviews. James Elms this week says, make Hef play footy again. Fantastic pod with unmatched insight on AFL keeper leagues. Great focus on identifying draft sleepers and bolters. Steers clear of 2G4 players unless they're John butchering someone with an awfully catchy song. Oh, so he likes he's a big fan.
He's
of
right
songs
for round one. Did you guys see that?
I did see that.
Full training today, playing round one.
All right,
Lipinski.
Thanks for that, James Elms. All right, we'll get into the listener questions now. All right, into the listener questions. The first one comes from Ninja Spoon. It's not actually a question. He's just giving some advice to players out there from, I think, someone who's just done his first keeper league draft. And he's saying, don't punt forwards when starting a new keeper league. It's not a question, just an observation. Hoping Walsh and Rao as keepers save me. So, yeah, maybe don't punt your forwards and go too early on those young mids. At Russ2468, I chose Chapman over Erasmus in redraft. I'm in the running for a cup, so wanted a youngster that could have some fieldable scores this year. Was that a mistake? Dossie, you picked up Chapman, and I know you like Erasmus as well. What do you think? Do you think that's a reasonable get there?
Yeah, I mean, the midfield depth at Freo, like it's basically just looking at a rookie versus a second-year player. And Chapman, he didn't even play waffle when he came back last year.
Yeah, he went straight back in.
So he's strained. So, yeah, I think his job security is high. He's going. I didn't see any of the news story, but do you hear the traders talk about Erasmus the other week? I don't know if it was a squirt or not. They seem to think it was that they'd heard inside info that Erasmus basically didn't get selected in the squad of 26 the other week and kind of spat it a little bit. So
yeah, right.
I didn't hear any follow-up stories on that. But apparently a bit upset over the non-selection.
I think with Freo and their youngsters, they kind of tend to ease them in. So I think Chapman, if you're going for a flag,
I think absolutely great pick.
Yeah. Cool. At Sandgroper19, going early on Petrevski-Seaton as a defender, so 10th round in a 20-keeper league. Only 24 years old. Is the 2019 output feasible depending on role in the Eagles' best 22? Kays, I know you've been a Petrevski-Seaton kind of follower over the years. What do you think? Do you reckon that's too early?
He just didn't. You wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt after last week's game. I was just like, I didn't see you, man, and there was no one else in your team. So, like, he needed to show me something more, some thirst, as you like to say it, to, like you see, someone like Patrick Nash score 50 off 37% of time on ground. He didn't even score that off, almost double that time on ground. So, like, I'm worried. I do see your point of view, and I would be willing to kind of be lenient, but I don't be taking him super late if you were still drafting. Yeah,
I think super late's a great spot to get him. But at the same time, if there's the midfield role could be there. It's just that if he had a full preseason, I'd be all around it. It's just a shame, really.
Yeah, I think
the opportunity's there finally for him.
I think regardless, 10th round is probably a bit early, isn't it? Anyway, at Quenchmythe first asks, which final two mids should I start in round one? Prestia, Greenwood, Schonberg, Sharp, Warple, and Berry. He's planning on looping Prestia, but if he fails, he wants two midfielders to replace him. Who wants to answer this one? Anyone got any ideas? I think Warple plays North Melbourne first up, which I think is juice. And I don't mind Greenwood.
But then also Greenwood against Hawthorn is juice.
Yeah, true. Well, I think that's the tool I was actually going to go for, really. Just because Greenwood, a new club, I think will want to impress as well.
Sharp versus North Melbourne.
No, Sharp versus West Coast.
Sorry,
That's what I was thinking. I was just looking at
I literally thought that.
Who can I play against West Coast this
Sharp.
week? Yeah.
That's in WA, is it as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, give me Sharp.
All right. I'm still going to back Greenwood in to go big.
Sharp and Greenwood.
I think they'll both score around the 90 mark, I reckon. But I'm going to go Warple because with Mitchell not being 100% right, I think he's going to be the next guy to go in there. He's going to be kind of leading that midfield. So I'm high on Warple this season. So I don't mind him there.
Sharp and Greenwood. It'll be interesting what Barry's role will be. But too risky, I guess.
Risky.
Yeah. Those two guys, I think Greenwood and Sharp.
All right. At Robert Hatcher 15, do we think Dylan Shield can get back to a 98-point average from 2019, or do I try and move on from him? I have a couple of contending leagues. I have him in a couple of contending leagues. What do you think? What do we think Dylan Shield averages, Kays? You're the Bombers man. What do you think he averages this year?
I still don't know what their best 22 looks like and who's playing where.
I think he's playing that kind of sole inside midfielder when he's playing.
Because I just don't know who they're playing a wing. So that's the other thing.
I don't know. I don't think he's as good on a wing. I think they got their wing spots sewn up already with better outside players. I think he's best suited to that inside role. But I can't see him averaging 98. I can see him maybe averaging the 90s, like low 90s.
He's a risky proposition.
Yeah. What do you think?
I agree with the low 90s.
Yeah, low 90s. So probably not the 98, but if you're happy with the 92 or something like that.
I think they basically figured out he can't really play many other spots. Yeah. So I think he will play inside.
That's what I've said most of last year.
Yeah. Jaden O'Brien, Bailey Scott listed as a forward, racked up 73 points playing a halfback role in the Amy game. Is the role real or just a consequence of preseason mashups and Hall being back? Hall being on the outside.
Bailey Scott and good preseason numbers are like DOS and ruining people's careers through song. They just go hand in hand.
More good round one numbers, isn't it? Bailey Scott, his preseason numbers haven't been great. It was his first season he turned up on debut.
I just can't. Bailey Scott is like just...
Yeah, I actually picked him up on the back of this, but like real late, like second to last pick of the draft, I think it was, in ours. But yeah, just listed as a forward. If he plays a halfback role or maybe on a wing, because those wings kind of are vacated him, they Polex back and back on that wing spot apparently. But he could play one of those roles okay and maybe score, maybe average a 70 if he's super lucky. But I think that's kind of real wishful thinking. So
was he halfback? Was he? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, halfback wing. That's what I thought. Yeah, because I saw him.
I thought wing.
Yeah, a few wing attendances. But yeah, I think kind of where he got the pill, he might have looked like he was on a halfback flank. But yeah, he was definitely starting on the wing a bit. So yeah, I could see him move up into that role and go okay. But look, it's Bailey Scott though, so who knows? At Mortarded, last question of the night. Is Kays' role as the Oracle at risk after taking Hearn in the second round 2 of the preseason draft? Can you provide examples of other players that went in this round? Now, I do still have the draft results.
I can run through them because I was the second to last pick for reference. So I'll give you the guys who went in round 3 because they're the ones who still be available.
Or was it round 3?
No, I took him round 2, but I'm the second to last pick of round 2. So there's no point running through the guys I couldn't get. So Trent Cotchin, Zach Guthrie, who I ended up taking anyway, Tim Membry, Charlie Constable, Jai Newcomb, Joe Danaher, Nick Haynes, Michael Walters, Finn Callahan, David Mundy, Daniel Howe, Sam Flanders, and Jonathan Segler.
Yeah.
I think Oracle didn't miss.
Hearn's fine. Like Hearn will average if he's
85.
If he's not injured, he'll average 85. And if you're contending, that's what you want in your side. It's just that you're not going to get much future out of him, and I don't think that's what you really care about at the moment, to be honest. So
I just needed him to just be there.
I think you're sweating more so that you're in dire need of forwards, and you didn't take forward until
like Tim Membry or Joe Danaher would have potentially been better picks.
Yeah,
but
for your
they
team,
don't have the ceiling that Hearn does.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. It's just a bit of a gut feel, if you will. Bit of a Manscaped smooth ball call. I dropped Hearn way down my ranks in our latest update. So
those calves scare me.
I sort of the fact that it's going to be in the back line a lot is probably why you're excited.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I think they're going to try and involve more distributors, especially if they're going youth. And like it'd scare me that if they're doing that trash, that we might see a mid-season
his
boots
peg
hanging
is
up.
elite though, and he'll take a lot of kick-ins.
Yeah, so that's one thing. There's kick-ins. It's down there a lot. Number 3, which is all I need him for, is the retirement game in round 23.
You do want that.
I'm on a 150 from Shannon in the final
as
game.
As long as he's not injured. Is the last game at home? That's the other thing you got to make sure. If it's at home, it's guaranteed. He might retire early if it's not.
Just the injuries that I think, I personally don't have him as high this year.
Oh, it's purely where my team's at. Like I needed someone who could potentially just come in and...
He's probably the best average at that round.
It's fine. Fine. He's away at GMHBA.
Oh, that's dangerous. Not many people want to travel down there. Tim Membry, just going back to that, I think I've got him in a couple leagues as well. I've been big on him this preseason, so I was happy to get him as a forward. But yeah, anyway, that's the show for tonight. That's a wrap. That's all the questions. We're going to be done in just under an hour here, so well done. All right, we'll wrap that one up unless there's anything else from you guys that you want to mention or anything that's come through while we've been doing the show. No,
I mean, we've got to get got to get to what 300 ratings and reviews now.
That's right. We do need to. Yep. So
how far off are we?
Just skip it and go straight to 400, so he has to play the season.
How many new phones do I need to buy?
Can I just wait till 400 then before I don't actually have to plan until we get to 400?
What if we get to 400 and it's like 2 years' time and you're an absolute foss and you've still got to honour the bet?
No, it's only for this season. We need to get to 400 this season.
No, but that was the thing that was not agreed upon time frame.
It's true.
Well, then you can't just add stipulations now. So we need to rediscuss this.
40-year-old, we get to 400. it's 2030.
Right, I'll snap in the first round and I will not be playing the season regardless, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, so try to get the ratings and reviews in. 300 is the next milestone. I'll play a game somewhere. I'm not sure if I'll get a game at Kenilworth if they don't have a C grade. Might have to be back in my old club. But the C grade coach in my old club has already told me he's not having me back. So I might struggle to find a place.
Versus Kookaburra round one.
It is actually my old club, Kayser's old club, I guess, or the club we played for last year versus your club, round one. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. But we might all have to go out and have a few beers and watch. Kayser and I'll have to go and heckle a bit, I reckon. So I'll be there too.
Kransky's drinking red tins.
Yeah, we'll have to do a bit of heckling out there, so it should be good fun. Anyways, we'll wrap that one up. Actually, any of our listeners in Adelaide want to come out and watch this too, that'd be pretty good fun to actually
please
do. Let's have a meet up at the Walkerville Footy Club and watch Dos have a kick in the ones. Anyway, he's already sweating. He's already choking up.
Let's make a Facebook event for it.
Let's do it. Anyways, let's wrap it up now. All right. Get around us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok.
The hamstring awareness is back.
Make sure you support our sponsors. You support us by supporting our sponsors. So go to manscaped.com and use Keeper20 on the new packages and the new products they've got there in their ultra premium collection. So use Keeper20 on those. Get 20% off and free shipping. All right. And then make sure you get to Walkerville Oval at round one and watch Dossie play some footy. And if you live in Adelaide. And if you're not in Adelaide, just flights are super cheap at the moment. So just make your way over. We'll get here.
My debut as well.
It might be the stream game of the week too.
We could watch it online actually. Hopefully it is. We could post it around the country. Anyway, that'll do us for this week. Dossie's already choking up, so it's all good. All right, we'll talk to you next week after round one. We've actually got some footy. How exciting, boys! Get excited for this. It's
I am bloody keen.
We've got two more sleeps until footy starts.
Playing on Wednesday night.
Too. Oh, it's loophole galore and just players look out. I reckon. Yeah, cool.
My keepers are set. It's just the classic team now.
That's it. We're to wait for the teams on Thursday, but exciting times. All right, enjoy, listeners, and we'll talk to you next week. See ya.
Bye.
Gotcha.
You fuck.
Fucker.
It's a good idea. 5 in this draft. The fucking pressure, dude.
I know how much you love pressure too.
I don't care if people come. Just don't tell me if people have told you they're coming.
All right.
Because I don't want to know.
I know you love pressure.
3 Saturdays time, 2nd of April.